moment. But I remember when I was less than 5 years old, like it was yesterday. I remember when soldiers came back from World War II. I was born in 1943. And I remember my mom picking me up and put me on her hip. She says, "Listen." And it was terrifying, the sound I heard. And we walked outside to the little field behind the house, and I looked up and I could see planes in every direction. She turned around in a circle and there were planes to the horizon as far as the eye could see. And I said, "What is that?" It was terrifying. I think I was crying at the time. And I remember her saying with a tear in her eyes, "That's our boys coming home." It was World War II ending is what it was. So that's my earliest memory. Most of my early memories are not good, wonderful, fond memories, because I was actually born into a very poor area of North Carolina and was raised early on a cotton farm. And we got up before school and went out and chopped the weeds out of cotton fields and came home after school and did other work like picking the cotton when the season was at an end, and had to go to the gin and be milled and all that sort of thing. So that was very, very rough. We didn't have lights or running water up until I started school when I was 7 years old. Never saw an electric light except on street lights and that stuff when we went into town until I started school. And I was determined early on to get out of that situation. I didn't know how, but I was looking for a chance, a way. What could I do in my life? Everybody said education is very important, and they drummed that into me, but there was my dad told me right away that there was no shot I'd ever go to college because it cost money. We didn't have any of that rare commodity. And so I started school all the way along my path, planning on how to get away from there. And when I was 9 years old, there was a field trip to a local county fair. And that was when it all started. My big plan kind of fell into place. We went to the county fair, and there were things like girly shows on the back part of the midway, and there were interspersed among those shows were what was called 10-in-1 shows, or as the people call them, freak shows, or human oddities. William Dirks, the two-faced man, the Texas giant, standing over 8 feet tall, they said. He really stood about 7 feet tall, but give him a foot, why not? And there were others, but between those human oddities were working acts. There were fire eaters and sword swallowers and the human pincushion and the guy who walked on broken glass barefoot, which is where I got my inspiration. When we went and saw those shows, it cost a dime, by the way, in those days. That's going to sound far-fetched, but it was true. It cost 10 cents to get in and see the 10-in-1 show, which means they had 10 acts inside. And when the guy came on stage and said, "We're going to show you something impossible in human terms," and he laid down a blanket and dumped about 100 pounds of broken glass onto it and pushed it away around with a broom. And when he got it down to about 2 or 3 inches thick, he says, "Watch this." Very dramatically stepped onto the glass and walked one end to the other, and people were gasping and in awe. Well, I wasn't in awe at all. I was raised on a cotton farm. We had broken glass and walked on it pretty much every day and rarely got cut, and if so, it was just a scratch. And I could see by looking at it that since it was several inches thick, that the glass could move around to the form of your bottom of your foot, and you wouldn't get cut unless you got a piece on the bottom of your foot when you stepped off. And I yelled out and says, "Who can't do that?" The guy took offense at it and said, "Why don't you come on up here, little boy?" And I walked up, and then I was terrified because people were looking at me. And he says, "You think you can do that?" And I said, "I know I can do that." Again, exuberance of youth. He said, "Go ahead." Now, if that happened today, he'd probably be in a major lawsuit of some sort. You can't do that. Invite a child to walk on broken glass. But he did invite me, and I did it, and successfully, I may add. I knew I could. I mean, who couldn't? All my cousins and I walked on broken glass every time we walked to school or to the road to get on a school bus. And so I did it. And at the end, good showman he was. I got to give the man credit. His name was William Burkhart, and he was a major sideshow entrepreneur in those days. And Mr. Burkhart immediately picked it up. He picked me up and held me up and says, "What do you think, folks? Did we put it over on you?" He's introducing Johnny Ironfoot, the world's youngest sideshow performer. "Thank you, and come again and see our show." He said, "Stay here, kid." When I left, he said, "Can you come back tomorrow? I'll give you $5. $5. $5 was a week's pay in the cotton field. I said, yes, I can. I got a ride back with some friends, and father of some friends, I should say, and I went back, and for the rest of the carnival's tenure there, which is only a week, I was a feature attraction every day at that fair. And that put it in my mind that I was going to be in performing of some sort. I didn't even know the word show business yet, but I would soon learn it.